think it's fair to say it's been a tough couple of seasons of Tottenham, back-to-back 17th place finishes, only sealing survival on the final day of last season. There has been a lot of anger from fans towards the hierarchy at the club, which stems back, I think it's fair to say, to 2019. Spurs, of course, getting to a Champions League final, but from that moment on, have never really showed the right ambition in the transfer window to carry on competing with the top clubs, and yet it's cost them from a Champions League final to fighting relegation within the space of 6 years or so. But are things starting to look a little different at the football club? Roberto De Zerbi is in charge. We know he's an ambitious man, has high expectations, and Spurs have been ambitious so far in the transfer window. They've signed Sandro Tonali for big money. Jean-Paul Van Heck from Brighton has come in. Mateus Fernandes from West Ham also for big money. Andy Robertson and Marco Senesi also arriving on a free. Chris Cowlin from the Spurs Chat Podcast joins us live now on talkSPORT. Chris, a very good evening. As I reel off those names, good players are rising for big money. What is happening behind the scenes at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, Chris?
Sam, first of all, good evening to you and Ben.
Hello,
and great to talk to you again. It is very different this summer transfer window. It needs to be very different because, as you mentioned there, the last couple of seasons haven't been good enough. And as you also mentioned, since 2019, we have gone through so many different managers at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and interim managers as well, and it hasn't been good enough. The football needs to be a lot better and the ambition needs to be a lot better. And it certainly has been in this transfer window so far. And as you mentioned there, some of the players, signing Sandro Tonali for a £100 million package, we didn't think that this was going to be possible, and we didn't ever think that we would see this amount of money spent at Tottenham Hotspur. And this is exactly what needs to happen now. Dramatic changes need to happen. We have seen the wage structure change. We have seen top players come in this transfer window. It's great to see as well, in the last 10 minutes or so, the club have just put out a short interview with Roberto De Zerbi, and he said he is excited and he wants to build a strong team, and that is exactly what we are doing. We need the depth as well, and we certainly need European football back at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But ultimately, we cannot be in that same position we were on the final day where we were fighting against relegation, because that was too close for comfort.
Ben, have you been surprised at how Spurs have gone about their business so far on this transfer window?
Not surprised, because I think staying up was a wake-up call, and this is about the newer members of the Lewis family, Nick Boscher in particular, who's driving a lot of the strategy, backing Roberto De Zerbi. And my sense was always, what changed between De Zerbi leaving Marseille, being a free agent on the same day that Thomas Frank was sacked, and not being able to get him at that point, then also failing to persuade Roberto De Zerbi in the immediate aftermath of that first leg chastening defeat to Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. And then suddenly De Zerbi was like, okay, I'm going to take it now. I'm going to shoulder the burden of trying to keep Tottenham in the Premier League. And my expectation on day one, when De Zerbi signed a long-term contract, was he was in this for the long haul, even if Tottenham had gone down. And the reason why? Because he was told, we're going to back you in the market, but also we're going to let you pick that other co-sporting director, which originally was set to be Sebastian Kell. My info is De Zerbi had other ideas. And Tottenham have got money to spend, because don't forget, even without European football, under financial fair play, they were always only around the 60% of total revenue on transfers, and you can go to 70. Their wage bill had never been up there with the Manchester Uniteds or the Manchester Cities of this world. There were 2 capital injections, each of 100 million, the most recent one only a couple of weeks ago. It's working capital, but some of it is on transfers. And under squad cost ratio, the new version of PSR, there's more rope to work with, because this is a transitional year. So Tottenham, heading out of an FFP cycle, can spend up to 85% now of revenue on transfers, but you can also go another 30% beyond that and still basically incur no penalties. And then De Zerbi in the market is calling a lot of the shots. He's from Brescia. Tonali came through Brescia. They've known each other for a while. Tonali gave his word to De Zerbi, not just Tottenham, and then the deal got done quickly. Mateus Fernandes, it was a bidding war with West Ham. He would have joined either Manchester United or Tottenham. Highest price one. Daniel Levy would have run a mile. Nick Boscher and the Tottenham hierarchy paying what it takes. And remember one other thing. This is Tottenham trying to get into the Champions League, not just being far away from a relegation battle. and they're not done as a result. So they've sorted their goalkeeper, they've sorted their defence, they've sorted their midfield. On the cards now, left winger, Savinho top target, and very possibly a number 9 as well.
Okay, 2 questions for you then, Chris. Firstly, on Savinho, what would you make of that? And also, is something that's quite optimistic for Tottenham fans is that all these new players are coming in, but also players like Kulusevski and Maddison and Solanke, 3 of your best attacking players, kind of barely kicked a football last season.
Absolutely, and I think that Ben is absolutely spot on there. A number 9 and a left winger is certainly, on the cards, and that is certainly the players that we should be targeting. A replacement for Heung-min Son is definitely needed, and a top-class number 9, someone that can put in the ball in the net and have an option for Roberto De Zerbi. But you're also right there, Sam. When you've got the likes of Maddison, of course, he come back at the end of last season, but Kulusevski hasn't kicked a football for over a year. Mohamed Kudus as well will come back. Solanke has had injury problems. Javi Simmons will come back. So we have got a very, very decent squad. But we do need to certainly strengthen in that final third. And Savinho, that's going to be an interesting one. Perhaps Ben can tell us a little bit more on that. But, we were meant to be signing him last summer. That didn't happen. But Fabrizio Romano and co, they keep telling us that this is going to be on the cards. Spurs want this player in the door. And as you also rightly mentioned there, Sam, a number of players are going out the door. But we expect, as Tottenham Hotspur fans, that this is going to be another major rebuild. And like Ben touched on there, the football club are giving Roberto De Zerbi a bigger say than any manager has had since we moved into the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But all I can say at the moment is that it has been a very, very dull and dismal last few years.
But yeah, by the way, Chris, you mentioned, you said Fabrizio Romano's name on the show. Let me tell you this, Fabrizio Romano has posters of Ben Jacobs on his bedroom wall. So, who needs Fabrizio Romano when you got Ben Jacobs in the talkSPORT studio, my friend,
I don't have a cool Italian accent, though, unfortunately. But what I can tell you, Chris, is the Savinho talks are very positive. It's not actually about the finances. It is about whether Man City can find a replacement in that position.
Could that be Jack Grealish, or is he not?
Well, Jack Grealish will get the opportunity to be reintegrated. Everton would still be open to some kind of deal, most likely an option to buy with a loan structure. But the reality is Savinho is not the kind of winger Enzo Maresca likes, because he wants goal contributions rather than only somebody that can run with pace and get what's known as white chalk on the boots. In other words, hug the touchline. So my information on Savinho is that the offer Tottenham placed 12 months ago was fine financially. It was just blocked at board level by Ferran Soriano. Flash forwards, talks are ongoing, but it's all about whether Manchester City can bring someone in. And then with outgoings, 2 little bits of breaking news, one actual Spurs and one almost Spurs.
He Spurs, isn't he, this man, yeah.
Will Lancashire, first of all, is going to be leaving Tottenham, and it's 20 million package, of which around 10 million is a guaranteed fee, and he's heading to Middlesbrough. That deal was formalised earlier today. And then ex-Spurs, Luka Modric, who is at Milan and is also part of the Swansea ownership team, along with Snoop Dogg, by the way. He is going to extend, according to my information, at Milan by 1 extra season.
Thanks, Ben. Chris, one more for you. On the makeup of the defence next season, what's it going to look like? Because obviously a couple of new faces, or 3 new faces, have come through the door, and Senesi, Van Heck and Robertson. You've got Jed Spence, the most famous and most popular man in the country right now, obviously at Spurs. So how will the defence look, and do you want to see Christian Romero on his way out?
I think Romero, I think his time is done at Tottenham Hotspur, and I think that I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be sad to see him go, particularly after the World Cup as well. So, we have had a number of defensive reinforcements in, so I think we're well covered in that area. Jed Spence is a funny one for me because, Pedro Porro has just signed a new contract, so is he going to fight out with him to be at right back? Because, of course, Jed Spence is very good at left back, but now we've got Andy Robertson, Destiny Udogie, who Roberto De Zerbi really likes as well. So it's going to be very interesting. But there's 42 days left of this transfer window, and I think that there is going to be a lot of activity in terms of more incomings and more outgoings. But one thing I would like to say is that this feels very exciting. It does feel very exciting under Roberto De Zerbi, the type of football that he wants to play. And, of course, we are all very thankful to him for keeping us in the Premier League. And, it does feel exciting. I'm actually at the airport on my way to New Zealand for the pre-season tour.
Oh, happy days, Chris.
That's how excited I am.
Yeah, mate, good stuff. Yeah, enjoy it. I've done that flight before, Chris. It's a tough one, mate.
It is.
Brutal, yeah. Chris, just one word. Where will you finish next season?
It has to be in a European place, Ben. For me, it has to be Europe.
Do you know what, Chris? I really would have loved it if you went 16th. Like improvements next season. We're not coming 17th. We're coming comfortably 16th. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. It's Chris Cowlin from the Spurs Chat Podcast. Mate, safe flight. Enjoy your trip.
Thank you. Cheers.
Transfer Sliders on talkSPORT. Up next, we're talking all things Liverpool.